Hello and welcome to Life Changes You. I'm Daniel, and this week we're really lucky to have Arlene Bailey with us, who is a country music phenomenon. I've been listening to her album in the last few days since I've been in contact with her, and it's really, really good. So she's a singer in her band Bailey. They've been together for about 3 years, and she's also here to talk about her diagnosis of bipolar, which was only a few years ago. So let's say hello to Arlene and let's have a chat. How are you, Arlene?
I'm good, Daniel. How are you?
Good. And I was saying to you off air that when I read your profile and it said you were Nashville, Tennessee, I thought, wow, this lady's going to come on with a big old Nashville voice and talk like that. And then you surprised me with such an Irish accent.
That's it. I sound like Bridie from down the country. I've recorded in Nashville and I spent a lot of time in the States. I lived in New York for a while, but no, Irish through and through. The only, as I said to you before, the only American part of me is the flag that I have tattooed on my extremely lower back.
Okay.
That's a whole other story.
So can we go back to your childhood then and just tell me sort of, your upbringing and what sort of got you into music?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm from Sallins in County Kildare. My mum and dad reared myself, my older sister, younger sister and kid brother. We're a very close family. Like laughter was just such a big thing. Laughter, music, entertainment, having the crack was always and always has been a thing in our house. I had a great childhood. I left home though at 17. I just turned 17 and I joined a band and moved to the UK and spent a very long story short. I suppose I spent the next 14 years touring the world.
Wow.
With different bands and as a solo artist and stuff. But I had a great childhood. I have nothing, when I think back of any problems that I have now or any issues I've had, they have never stemmed from my childhood. Right. I remember even speaking to counsellors and they would say, how was your relationship with your mum and dad? Well, it was perfect. Right. My dad passed away a couple of years ago, but right up to that point, we're a very close-knit family. So my point is, Daniel, I can't blame them for my lunacy. Well, I can maybe, I suppose, because they are, my younger brother, Eric, is an actor and I like to refer to him as an over-actor. He's all jazz hands and, he's a total comedic genius. But there's a lot of, as I said, there's been a lot of fun in our family home. And again, music-wise, my dad always sang, never professionally, but say at family events, him and his brothers would get up to sing at any occasion. And then from my mother's side, we would have been more kind of steered towards playing instruments like the accordion and the guitar and stuff like that. And Irish dancing was a huge thing in the family. But from the age of 4, I guess I was inspired to sing. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was just the fact that my mum and dad heard that I was able to sing and they pushed. Then they'd give me tapes. I was going to say CDs, but like going back to the dark ages there. So they give me tapes and certain artists like Crystal Gale and George Jones, people like that, they would inspire me to listen to and I would learn stuff and then I guess put it out there. I'd have to do some sort of performance then as a follow-up. But I used to go to things called crazy nights that my dad organised. They were like nights out in clubs basically where bands would play and people would get up to sing. And as a 4-year-old, I used to get up and sing with bands.
Wow.
So when kids shouldn't have been in pubs, I was there. And it's funny because we go sometimes on a Saturday evening straight from mass. So it'd be like from the church to the pub, real Irish thing to do. But so I'd get up and sing and I was terrified. I knew I loved to sing, but I didn't like getting up on stage. Once I got up there, I didn't want to get back down again. So it's something I got used to. And everywhere we'd go, like my dad, even if we were on holidays, if we were going somewhere and there was a band playing, he'd be up like a shot. My daughter can sing, didn't matter, who they were or how old I was, it was happening as far as he was concerned. So I suppose in one way, when I say I felt pushed into it, that's too strong a way of describing it, but I...
Encouraged.
I guess I wouldn't, yes, encouraged and a little bit more, if it wasn't for that sort of push from him and from my mum, I don't think I'd be in the business now.
Right.
I don't think I would. I don't think I probably would have taken a back seat and said, I wouldn't have been as ballsy, I think,
Right. Yeah. So having them as your parents really sort of prepared you to get in there and just blast your way into the music scene.
I guess so, yeah. And then when the time came to join a band, I didn't look back. I just said, feck this, I'm out of here. I know what I want to do. I was kind of quiet about my love for music when I hit secondary school. I didn't really, I didn't sing a whole pile. I know I went and I did little bits and pieces on the side, but in school I never pushed it because I was a different kind of singer. And I used to notice that it was always the girls with the serious high range that would get the parts and the musicals and stuff like that. And I just said, here, do you know what? This isn't for me. So I used to do background bits and pieces and whatever. No, I didn't really push myself then. When I got an opportunity, it was my granny that saw an advert that this band was looking for somebody to join as lead singer. As I said, long story short, I hit the road. I didn't look back. I left my mum and dad crying at the gate and headed off for 9 weeks. And from there, as I said, it became the guts of 14 years, touring the world, coming home for maybe 5 days at a time. It was an insane lifestyle. It's funny, I had this moment earlier. I noticed on Facebook that this girl that used to sing, she used to come to a gig that I played in England. Yeah. She used to get up and sing with the band. And I remember thinking, God, she's such a child and she reminds me of me years ago. And I see on Facebook today she turns 40 and I'm 43. So if I was looking at her then going, oh my God, you're only a child. I was a child too. I just thought I was.
Yeah.
I was in a different headspace. I was out there in the big bad world and, I thought I knew it all. I didn't have a clue really, but I just went with it.
And so your new album that you've got at the moment, is it just called Bailey?
Yeah, we didn't stick a title on it. We just, it's my third album. And I just said, let's keep it simple. Just stick the band name on it and that's it. And let it speak for itself.
Well, look, as I said to you, I was listening to it before we started the interview. Yeah, I really love Everything I'm Not and love your cover of I Am Woman. Who I had her in my head who sang it. Now I can't think of
Helen Reddy.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, Helen Reddy.
But your version, I think, is a lot more raw and I don't know. I just like the music behind it. It's like you've given it a rebirth, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Some people cover things and it's like, oh, look, they've just done exactly the same thing, but yours has got a completely different sound to it.
Yeah, thank you. No, we took what was a pretty laid back song and I gave it to the guys in Nashville and I worked with these amazing musicians out there and they just did their own thing, their own spin on it. And all I wanted from it was it to be a lot more punchy in your face and a bit rockier than the original. And I think we managed to achieve that.
Definitely,
the other song you mentioned there, Everything I'm Not, was written by, again, another Nashville-based musician, Donnie Skaggs. And it's one of those independent woman kind of songs. It's like, if you listen to the lyrics, I'm not your maid, I'm not your mama. It's like, I don't have time to be messing around with some bloke who won't clean up after himself, So I think that'll speak to a lot of women.
Oh, it will do. I mean, I did have the vision of The Handmaid's Tale going through my head when I was listening.
Okay.
No, I'm joking. No, it wasn't as bad as that. No, but yeah, it is. It's good because if women listen to that, it will give them like the get up and go. And yeah, I am strong. I can be independent, which is a really good thing because independence.
Yeah, I know what you mean. And I'm not going to sit here and start, yes, of course, I'm always going to fly the flag for women, but, we've kind of got a raw deal at times. So
definitely
every now and again, we need to remind the men that we're here. And we have standards and
look, I work in an industry where I feel that females and males are pretty much equal in disability and mental health. But I can see there are so many disparities in other workplaces. And I've never really thought, oh, well, I'm better than you because I'm a male or, but that sort of song really does give women something to go with and go, wow, yeah, this is really strong. This is who I am. I am strong. I am able to do all these things.
But without being kind of too aggressive or in your face, because it is tongue in cheek and it's country, and any typical country song it tends to be a little, my dog ran away with my neighbours cat or whatever, there's always some sort of like if you watch any of the American country videos, they're like little movies and they all tell funny stories. That's kind of the gist with that style of country. I think that it's tongue in cheek, but it's a bit of a sharp reminder as well that we're not putting up with any crap.
So what drew you towards country music?
Again, the influence of my mom and dad. Then again, Daddy wouldn't have sang country music, but my mother loved the old kind of the old American style country acts. And there would have been a lot of that stuff played in the house. And then my aunt is really big into country music as well. So she had a huge collection of music. And again, it would be, have a listen to this. Maybe you'd like to sing that. And that's, I guess, where it came from. And I've been twanging ever since, that, as you said, that kind of twangy American accent that I'm sure grates plenty of people, but that's how I sing naturally. That's just what comes to me. And I think when I do that style of music, you can't sing it with an Irish accent,
No, look, it's the same with some other singers, isn't it? I mean, if they were to sing it, like put on an American accent or an English accent, it would just be like, oh, that doesn't, I mean, I guess if someone did it as a cover and they didn't sound the same, but you sound like you're American and it sounds really good, raw country, it's because I don't like a lot of country music. And when you first contacted me, I was thinking, oh no, not a country music star. And then I listened to your music and I went, actually, I don't mind this. This is actually really good.
Okay, good. Yeah. Yeah, there's different styles, isn't there? There's a few questionable sort of, and I don't mean to sound like I'm not supporting other artists. I am, of course, but there's a certain type of country out there that I couldn't listen to. I won't.
Well, you were saying like, the one with the dog chased the cat or something like that, which is a funny sort of thing. And when you were saying it, I could think of country music songs that were similar to that. But I'm thinking like, things where they say, oh, we haven't had rain for so long and it's been a really bad year. And, I mean, that's okay, but it's just not my cup of tea. It needs to have a bit of oomph in it. And yours does.
I put in that rocky sort of influence as well. So it was a little bit more mainstream.
Yeah. So look, you said before we came on that you found out that you had bipolar. So do you want to tell us a little bit about how you came to the conclusion or who you went to see to get a diagnosis?
So I was suffering from depression from probably about the age of 15.
Right.
On and off. And it was addressed at times, then other times it wasn't. I saw a couple of counsellors and therapists along the way. And, I wasn't taking any medication. And of course, I didn't realise at the time what was going on. I just thought I was depressed. So when it came to light, I guess when after my dad died and I was having some really bad bouts of depression, I went to see my GP and I went to see a psychiatrist as well who asked me to keep an eye on my moods. So basically to jot down when I was feeling this way, when I was feeling that way, what triggered it and what not. And it became apparent that what I thought was just me in good form was actually hypomania kind of phase. You know what I'm trying to say? But so after a long time of, I suppose it was months of them testing certain medications and monitoring what was going on with me, they came back with a diagnosis of bipolar 2. So, I guess, as I said, I never really took much notice of the highs because I just figured, hey, I'm in great form. I have loads of energy. I can paint the whole house. I can I can do everything and anything. I'm invincible. I am woman. But I didn't really notice as much because, as I said, I was focusing on those low moods. That's what they came back with. And I guess that made total sense then when I looked back at what was going on with me over the years. It made total sense.
And I guess you wouldn't think that there was anything wrong really when you're in a good mood or a hyper mood because you're just feeling fantastic and you think, oh, I feel really good. I'm going to get a lot of stuff done. And then when you go and hit the drop where you go into the downward spiral, you'd be thinking, oh, God, I must have overdid it a bit. But I don't see how you would have correlated that it could be something like bipolar.
Yeah. I guess it's a tricky one to kind of identify or to pick up on. And again, I'm no expert, Daniel. So I guess when I presented myself to the doctor, I guess they're seeing something else that I'm not seeing. I'm just going in, spouting a load of stuff at them and saying, look, I have a problem, please help. And I guess it got to the point where once I crossed the 40 mark, I said, I don't want to be this. I'm not saying that I'm on my way out or anything, but I didn't want to be this miserable old woman. I wanted to nip whatever it was in the bud before menopause kicked in and before, I just wanted to be happy, and I needed things sorted out. So yeah, I think I did the best thing for me. And as I said, after a bit of trial and error, I'm on certain medications now that work really well for me, and I'm in a great place. I guess that's really one of the things I want to put across to people, that there's medication there that you can take. There's help that you can avail of. It's not all doom and gloom, that there is light at the end of the tunnel. But that being said, I'm realistic. Like, being honest with you now, I'm not in a great place today.
Yeah.
And I guess you wouldn't know, but I'm well able to put on, the front, the face, and get on with it. I'm not in a desperate place, but since, I suppose, in the last couple of days, I've noticed a bit of a decline in my mood. Right. So I have to watch it, and I still don't know what the triggers are. Stress, maybe.
Could it be that, because last week when I spoke to you and said, would you be up for an interview last week? You said, I can't, I'm so busy this week. And do you think it could be that you've hit that peak of all your rehearsals and stuff, and then you're starting to come down from that, which is a natural come down?
Yeah, possibly. Like, we have this, we have a big gig on Sunday. It's a theatre in Naas in Kildare, and it's it's a big deal because it's the first time that I've been on the stage properly with the band and doing my own stuff, but with the whole lockdown and stuff. Yeah. So I guess it's nerves, it's stress, it's the condition as well. It's just probably a pile up of things. And last night when I felt pretty low, I said, you know what, you're going to have to do something now to help shake this off. Not that you can shake it off, but you know what I mean? I have to, so I'm like straight in the shower, and I'm like all the lovely smelly moisturizers and the face mask and everything, do all the nice things and snuggle the dogs and all the things that kind of help ease the situation. But I don't think I'm set for a major dip in my mood, but I still recognize that there's something going on, so I have to mind myself.
And look, I would think, as you say, you've been on the medication for about 2 or 3 years. You're still going to have peaks and troughs from settling into that medication. Because, I mean, look, I don't prescribe any medications to people. I'm a counsellor. But I have found with people that are taking stuff for anxiety and depression, I think it's really up to, I would say, the 6-month mark before you really start to settle into that. And I think also for you, because you're a performer, you have these natural highs where you're performing or recording. And then afterwards, it's sort of like, Dan, I'll let you into a little secret. When I was in my 20s, I did a lot of amateur theatre stuff where I sang and danced and acted. And I would do Thursday, Friday, Saturday night. Sunday still on the high. Monday I'd feel like crap. I'd just be like, oh my God, I feel awful. But it's because you've like let all that energy out over those 3 nights, and then you sort of come down from it. And it wasn't until I got to about Wednesday afternoon I started to pick up again and think, oh, I'm performing again tomorrow night. So I think with you, even though you've got bipolar, you would still have those natural peaks and troughs where now I guess you've got to get used to the fact that how they work, because you've muddled through really without your diagnosis and been really high and then really low. And now it's just finding the happy medium.
Yeah, this is true. And the music business is great. Like, I mean, it's in one way, I think it plays havoc with your mood. As you said, if you're kind of wired, or by the end of a gig, you can't go to sleep and you're just sort of rattling. I have to watch stuff like that because it can kind of interfere at times. But I think the worst thing in the world is going on stage when you're feeling low and nobody knows, and you have to put on that front. I remember I'm not laughing at it. I'm just kind of laughing at myself. But one time on the way to a gig with my boyfriend, who's the guitar player in the band, and I just spent the duration of the drive sobbing my heart out, going, I don't know how I can do this. I can't. I can't get up there and sing. And as soon as I'm on the stage, it's like, ding, light bulb on and off we go, you know. And again, forcing yourself to do certain things helps. I find that as well. Like I rarely wallow when I'm in a bad place. I force myself up. I force myself into the shower. I'm like, it's the simplest things. It's washing yourself, it's brushing your teeth. These things can seem like monumental hurdles, you know, but get up and just go out and do something. Right, fine. You might feel like rubbish and you come home later and say, okay, well, I didn't enjoy that or that, you know, whatever. But it's better to try, I think, than lay around and feel sorry for yourself. I that's just my take. And as I said, I'm not an expert on this. What worked for one may not work for another, but I know there's a time and a place to wallow under the duvet, but I tend to push myself to do other things.
Look, I sort of understand how you feel because I have chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia. And there are days, or like Sunday morning, I might wake up and I just can't get anything together. And I just sit there blankly watching the news on the TV, on the couch, heater on, dog on my lap. And I'm just sitting there going, oh, I really need to eat some breakfast. And an hour could go by, 2 hours could go by. And I just sit there and think, oh, look, I'll do it in a minute. And I'm starving hungry, but it's almost like my brain can't process what I have to do next to go and get the cereal. When I do, then it kicks it off and then I'll be like, okay, well, maybe I'll have a shower now. I might spend another half an hour sitting there going, oh, yeah, I should have the shower. Yeah, no, I will have the shower. And then I'll have the shower and then I feel a bit better as well. But with fibromyalgia, I'm really lucky. And I don't know if it's my mindset or that I do plenty of work and podcasts and stuff. But for me, I find that if I take more than 3 days off in a row, I'm going to start going back down that fibromyalgia where I can't get out of bed. I'm tired all the time. And it's almost like my body says to me, look, we know what's wrong with you, but we can get you through this. But if you stop for too long, we're going to stop as well. Because I had 5 days off recently, probably 3 months ago. By the fourth day, I was laying on the couch with the TV on, asleep, and I was sleeping all night. And then I realized I'm going back into fibromyalgia. And if I don't get up and start doing stuff, and I don't do a lot, I should do more exercise, which I don't because I'm either working, podcasting, helping out with my mum, all these different things. But yeah, I know I have to keep moving because when I keep moving and my brain's active, it feels like I'm keeping the fibromyalgia just outside the door. And that to some people might sound crazy, but to me, I can't be one of those people with fibro that lays in bed and gives up. You know, we've got one life, haven't we? So I can sort of understand where you're coming from because, I can feel like that. And it's just after 4 or 5 hours sitting there watching TV, just having breakfast, maybe a coffee, I'll go, this is ridiculous. I have to just do something.
Ultimately, Daniel, I think that's it. Yeah, exactly. That you're just... You're not going to let whatever it is get the better of you. But no. I guess what we have to remember as well is we're only human. So sometimes we're up and sometimes we're down, and you know, there's no point in beating yourself up over it. So when the time comes that you do need to say, "Here, I'm on the couch now," just go with it. Don't let it take over, but go with it when you have to. You know.
Like friends will say to me, oh, do you want to go here or there? And I'm like, yeah. And then when I get to the weekend and I've actually got 2 days off, I'm like, I don't want to go anywhere. I just want to have a rest.
How did you fare out with lockdown then? Did you lie around a lot?
Look, lockdown for me, I still worked because I'm an essential worker. I still recorded podcasts and myself and my sister still helped out with my mum who's in her 80s with Parkinson's. But I think if I was one of those people who couldn't work during lockdown, it would have driven me crazy because I don't think I think I would have overthought everything. And when it first started last year, I think we were all sort of in two minds of, is this real? Is it fake?
Yeah.
You know, and then after a while you go, no, it's real. Oh my God, this is real. This is what we're really living in. And then you start to come out of a lockdown and you start to think, oh, good, this is good. It's going to be behind us. And then another lockdown comes and you go, oh, no, this will be the last one. They say second wave. So you get through the second wave, starting to get your life back together. Third lockdown. Oh, what's going on? And then we've just finished our fifth lockdown now in Australia.
I've lost track. I've lost track. I just kind of, it's just insane. I think that if somebody told you a couple of years ago that this was going to happen, you would have thought they were off their trolley. You really no one would believe
it, would they? No one in their wildest dreams would believe that in this day and age we'd be locked down for over 12 months.
Yeah. I can't believe they managed to keep Irish people out of pubs. I still can't believe that. Why didn't we just open up all the pubs and just go and just say, look, no, this isn't happening. I'll sit in my little corner over there. You sit in yours and just let me have my wine.
So Ireland's fared quite well through it, haven't they?
Well, I don't know about that. Yeah, look, it's been weird. It's been weird. I think we've done all that we could do, and it's got to the point now where a lot of people are protesting and they're sick of it, and you can understand that as well. But I don't really think that that's the best thing to be doing, is gathering in crowds in the city centre and, you know, protesting this, that and the other. I think just lay low and keep your distance until it's safe to do otherwise. That's just my opinion. But, you know, each to their own.
That's an important question, because you're an entertainer. How have you managed to survive? And I don't want you to tell me, I had to do this or that, but, you know, because you couldn't work for so long. Is this when you recorded your album because you're in lockdown, or, you know, how do you survive when everything's shut? Yeah,
we recorded that. So some of it was done in Nashville, like in recent years, and I kind of pulled a couple of tracks from the last album onto this one. But we started recording before everything locked down, and then when there was a little bit of let up somewhere in between, we got back into the studio again. But like, we weren't working, you know. My other half, Gordon, as I said, hung up his guitar on the 13th of March last year, and really we've had very few gigs. Like we've been lucky enough because we can downsize and we can do a 2-piece act. So we've been able to go do like small weddings of 25 and 50 and stuff like that. Where, you know, it's at the hotel's discretion as to whether there's music allowed. So yeah, but I mean, you wouldn't be relying on it to pay the bills, you know. So it's been tough. We've been getting like a pandemic payment.
Okay.
But it's not really going to it's not the same as going out and working 3-4 nights a week.
No.
You know, it doesn't match in any way, shape or form. But look, everybody's or most people are in the same boat. So I'm not complaining about it. When we were locked down, I just got on with it. I shut the doors. I spent the first 2 weeks carrying on like it was Christmas. Right. And the TV was on and I was stuffing my face, and like everyone else probably put on about half a stone. And then I just copped onto myself and got out, did my exercise and, you know, read, and just I took a massive break, Daniel, I guess, as well. I enjoyed the time off because it was so alien to us. We didn't know what it was like to have weekends off, to not have to go anywhere, to not have somebody come to the door. In one way, like, because I'm decidedly antisocial, it was great because I thought, well, I can go around in my pajamas all day and no one's going to come to the door. Typical Irish person. I'm like, I can start drinking at 1 o'clock in the day. Every day is a party now. But yeah, you cop on. You don't. That didn't happen every day. Realistically, only some days. But yeah, like, and I have the animals here to look after, so that was lovely to spend time at home with my pets.
Yeah, look, I must admit that I did still work pretty much full time, but the extra time I did have at home on weekends with the dog was just brilliant. Just laying on the couch, watching TV, going for a walk. Yeah, it was nice to think I don't have to go anywhere because I can't go anywhere.
Yeah.
You know, otherwise It's that feeling of, oh, you know, I should catch up with so-and-so, or I should go and visit this person. Or whereas when you're in lockdown, you can't do any of that. So you just get used to, well, I'm just going to laze around and do nothing.
I enjoy my own company. I like being on my own. So that's fine. And Gordon, my other half, as I said, is very easygoing and good crack. So it was nice to spend time together. And we'd occasionally get the guitar out and upload a video here and there to Facebook just to check in with people. But we definitely laid low that period of time. And I think it was in one way healthy. I think the reboot was kind of necessary. We just didn't realise we maybe needed such a break. Yeah. Maybe not as long a break, mind you, but...
So going through that lockdown, because you would have only been diagnosed and known about your bipolar for probably a year and a half before, when we hit that and you started getting probably over the bits of lockdown where it was really happy and fun, did you have any areas of that where you just went, my God, like, what did it feel like it was bringing back the bipolar, or had you already got it under control by then?
I had a good grasp on it, I guess, at that point. But I guess there was some days, and like everybody else, where you were just living meal to meal. I'd be sitting there having breakfast going, what am I going to make for lunch? Having lunch, what am I going to make for dinner? Like, that we were all going a bit stir crazy at times. So I don't think, I don't think the being bipolar thing actually made any difference.
That's good
to me. And if anything, I probably just had a bit more time to just switch off and be in my own head, which sometimes isn't a bad thing.
Yeah.
I'm in a good place, and it was okay then. It made it more bearable.
Yeah. Look, I had a guy on here a few weeks ago called Jerry, who was an international DJ in the 90s, 2000s, up to about 2010. He still puts stuff out now and remixes. And he was saying about how he found out he was bipolar. And he said, I went from being an international DJ to still DJing, but, some of your friends you spoke to were like, oh, okay, I don't have time to catch up today. And he felt like a few of his friends sort of disowned him. But in another way, he said, I found a new respect from other people that realized that, yes, I have bipolar, but I'm still a normal person. I'm still a DJ. I'm still a lot of fun. And it doesn't really change who I am inside. If anything, it just made his moods more on the level rather than really high and then really low. And now he's become a neuro-linguistic programmer and does his DJ work. But talking to him, and he spoke about the bipolar, he said he went in to see a doctor who said, Jerry, you need to get off the drugs first. If you get off the drugs, come back and see me, and we'll see where we go from there. And he said he went for 6 weeks, no drugs. They retested him. They put him on some medication. And he said, Dan, it was the best thing. And I think like you're saying, once you get a diagnosis and you get the right medication, it can change your life for the better. Whereas I think a lot of people live in fear of, what if the medication doesn't work, or what if it's the wrong one for me? But who knows? It might be that you have to trial a couple of different medications before you find the one that fits you. But if you don't try any of them, then you're going to still be in the same position you were in when you got diagnosed. You know what I mean?
And there's a stigma, Daniel, as well, as I'm sure you know, there tends to be a stigma linked to antidepressants. And when you're talking about that lad and him feeling maybe alienated from certain people, I notice there are some people that don't know how to talk to me about this. Yeah. So I don't talk to them about it. And again, there was other people that approached me and said, I think it's brilliant that you're talking about it, because, you might help one person, you might help 10 people. You've shone a light on mental health issues. Isn't it funny that sometimes people can feel decidedly awkward around you when you say that there's something like this going on and that you're having to take, or the big one, antipsychotics,
Yeah.
God, you must be a threat.
Yeah, exactly. And look, I don't think TV shows really give people with a mental illness the right stigma, because I think usually you find the person who has been a serial killer in your favorite TV show has got schizophrenia or bipolar or something like that. So in most people's minds, that's what they lock in as the image and the stereotype. This is what bipolar person is. This is what schizophrenia person is. This is what they do to people. And if you were to stand every person in a row with bipolar, I think you'd be hard pressed in reality, in real life, to find one person in that row who's a serial killer, but they've seen it in a TV show. So immediately they lock on, serial killer. Oh, I've got to stay away from that person, or I've got to, talk to them really calmly in case they attack me. But a lot of this stuff is just what we've been taught by watching TV shows and movies. And in reality, that's not what someone with bipolar, depression, anxiety. And I try to say to people with anxiety when they go, oh, my friend's got anxiety. I go, do you know what? Everybody on this planet has some form of anxiety. Oh, I don't. And I go, yes, you do, because we have social anxiety. So it might be if you go to meet someone at a cafe and you get there a bit early and you go, oh, I'll wait outside until they get here. That's a form of anxiety, because you don't want to go in because you don't want people to look at you. You don't know how you'll feel when you're ordering your coffee and you're there sitting there on your own, and the waiter might be looking at you like, oh, well, why are you on your own? You've got two chairs here. We can construct all these different things in our head that cause anxiety, but everybody on the planet has some form of anxiety. And yet we still look at mental illness or mental health, mental wellness as a stigma that, it's sort of looked on as, look, I think we're turning a corner where there are a lot more people and who actually understand or are more compassionate or empathetic and don't just rush into that, oh, this is what they are. But while we still portray people with a mental illness as a serial killer or someone who's a bit crazy living down the street, we're never going to get away from that and realize that people with a mental illness are normal people.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, I mean, I'm not really normal, but
well, nor am I, and I think I think it's good if we're not normal because no one's actually even normal, are we? I mean, look, I could go on this whole rant about normalization and how we go, oh, well, we should be like these people. You shouldn't be like anyone. You should be like you. And as long as you're like you, that's all that matters. And mental illnesses, I mean, you look at some of the people who work in Silicon Valley, like Mark Zuckerberg, who does Facebook. We'd have no Facebook without him. And I think he's got some sort of autism or Asperger's. But a lot of programmers on computers have got autism or Asperger's, and they can sit there for hours putting all those programs in. What would we do if we didn't have these people? But people always think, oh, the autistic person is the person standing down there who's jumping up and down making noises. Well, unfortunately for that person, that's where they are. But we can still work with those people and we can give them a hugely different life. But then again, it's a matter of just going, look, we've all got our problems, our issues, but if we can see past those and see the person before we see whatever the label is that we have to stick on someone, we're a completely different world.
You see, yeah, you're right. We have turned a corner, Daniel. You're right that there's, people are kind of speaking out more about it. People are trying to understand. I know here, like, I'm sick of people saying or using the term he suffers or she suffers with her nerves.
Yeah.
That's something that people in Ireland generally say when they're talking about somebody who's depressed or who's whatever it might be, or the people that fell into the canal. There's a lot of people don't like to talk about suicide.
No.
We don't like to talk about it here. It's like it's something else happened. They didn't, eventually maybe they talk out about it, but initially it's like it was an accident. It didn't, it's hush hush. So that doesn't really inspire people to turn around and say, look, I'm crying out for help.
Yeah.
If you think that everything like that is being swept under the carpet. So as I said, we have turned some sort of a corner. I think there's a lot more work to be done.
There is. I think like with things like suicide, sometimes it can be the family of the person who's completed suicide who feel like they feel ashamed that they couldn't help that person. So they almost feel like, well, I can't talk about it because maybe it's my fault. Or, as you're saying, it could be the neighbours down the street who talk about, I don't know, Auntie Peggy, whose son suicided. And they go, oh, did you hear about Peggy's son suiciding? It's like, oh, it should be more like, how can we help Peggy because of what she's going through? How can we support her? Not be the gossip of the street.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think sometimes also, though, those people who are gossiping don't really know how to go in and say, look, it's awful what's happened. What can I do to help you? It's almost like they feel like, oh, God, I don't know how to speak to her. Well, she's the same woman you've known for 20 years. She's gone through a hugely tragic thing in her life. And all she needs you to do is go and say, do you want me to put the kettle on? Let's have a chat.
Yeah, as opposed to avoiding her like the plague.
Yeah. Or gossiping on the street or, because I think a lot of mental illnesses over the next 20, 30, 100 years will become so commonplace that we don't even speak about them anymore. And I sort of feel that psychologists, psychiatrists, counsellors will be a thing of the past because if we all share a little bit of information with each other, and so like with us talking, if you take a little bit of what I've said and you take that off and go with that, and I hear something you say and go, oh, actually, that's good. We've both learned something that could change how we think and what our outlook on life is. And when we cause little changes in people, they then go and tell that to other people. Oh, look, I was listening to this, or I saw this person, or I spoke to this person. They said blah, blah, blah. And that actually really worked for me. What about you? And then they go away and go, oh, actually, no, that can work for me. So if we're all spreading little tiny bits of information to each other that are positive and helpful and pushing down the stigma of mental illness to be, let's just talk about it. Who cares about it? no one should feel afraid to speak about what's going on for themselves, because the more, so like you talk about it or someone else with depression, the more people will rally round and go, okay, how can we help? What can we do? And if you go, oh, look, I just need a week on my own. Okay, cool. But we're here when you need us, rather than going, I was talking to so-and-so and she said she's got depression. That doesn't help anyone. That's just gossip. Whereas we can really help people by just talking and saying, look, I'm here. Talk to me about whatever you like. And that's one of the reasons I started this. I wanted to start a conversation where, this podcast with you and I will go out, and it might be a mum who listens to it and goes, oh, actually, my son's got bipolar, or I think my son's got bipolar, or he does have bipolar. And listening to this lady speak, it actually made me think differently about my son. If we can get these sort of things out where people are just listening and they're not really going, oh, no, I need to tune into this bipolar broadcast, but they're just listening to two people chat, it really opens it up for conversation for everyone.
But this is it, yeah. And that's why I speak out as often as I can now, Daniel. I was delighted to take part in this podcast, because anything that I can do, as I said, to just put it out there. And as you said, whether it's the person suffering from a mental illness or a family member that thinks, hang on, I need to try and get help, or I need to listen, or I need to come at this from a different angle. I think the greatest thing you can do is be open about these things.
Yeah.
Because it's when things aren't discussed and people are left to their own devices that, it can go very wrong. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there whose family members have, if they've committed suicide, that they didn't see it coming. They didn't know. Maybe they had no clue as to what was going on in that person's head. And, I've been, at times I would have described myself as being a master of disguise. So I would have kept things quiet for a long time, for a lot of my life. I had tried to take my own life on 2 occasions, and thankfully I did not succeed. But maybe if I had been quicker to turn around and say to somebody, I'm struggling, I'm drowning here, I can't cope, this is where I'm at. What if I walked up to the door of a hospital and said, I'm not able, I need some help? I didn't have the strength. I wasn't in the mindset at the time to open up to anybody. Yeah. So, and I guess I'm one of the lucky ones now that I'm here and I'm able to speak about it. So that's what I urge people to do. If you see something in a family member, don't let it slide. It could be too late.
Yeah, what could seem like a difficult conversation at the time could be the conversation that saves someone's life or gets them the right treatment, so it might not be an uncomfortable conversation where you say, is there anything wrong? And they go, well, actually there is, but I don't want to talk about it. Just go with it, because you could be saving someone's life. You could be getting them out of depression, out of anxiety. They might need some medication for mental health issues. Getting the help early and learning from your experience is a great thing, because you've told us what has happened to you. And these people then can go, actually, let's nip it in the bud now. And they can get the treatment a lot earlier. So, you're really brave to talk about it. And it's really good that you do talk about it, because being a musician, you've got a platform that you can stand on and talk about these things and help people out. Yeah.
There's also the concern, I suppose, as well, going back to the stigma that people might judge me. But you know what? That's a risk I'm willing to take. Yeah. As in by putting it out there again, it's like, oh, okay, right. We knew there was something going on with her, and now she's confirming it. But no. I think all in all, it's better to speak out than hide my truth. Plus, I'm too long in the tooth now, Daniel.
You are not. You're a lot younger than me.
I'm 43, and I just don't have time for baloney anymore. I speak my truth now, and if you don't like it, jog on.
That's exactly it. And look, people who judge other people really don't have enough going on in their life, do they? Because who needs to pass judgment on someone who's actually making a difference and turning their life around?
Exactly. Yeah.
You've got the help. You're speaking out about it to help other people. Anyone who comments on that needs to jog on, as you say, because. And look, I think in the next few years, we are going to get a lot more people opening up about mental health and talking about it. We've had some really big stars who have come out and spoken about it. Jim Carrey, for one, who sticks in my mind. And it's really good that they can come out and talk about it, because then that allows all those followers who follow him to go, actually, there's nothing wrong with me. I just need to go and see a doctor, and then I'll feel a lot better. So the more people that speak about it, we just get rid of the stigma completely.
It's funny that you should mention his name, because I'm obsessed with Jim Carrey.
How are you?
The biggest fan. And I know this is going to sound really nerdy of me, but I have seen Dumb and Dumber over 500 times. I kid you not. I'm obsessed. I'm a woman obsessed.
Yeah. Look, Arlene,
God help that man if he ever runs into me.
I would say, you said before that you don't care now if anyone knows that you've got bipolar, but I think telling people that you've seen Dumb and Dumber 500 times, that might be something you don't want to use.
No, I don't care. I told you. I don't care anymore. My undying love for Jim Carrey is it's out there now. It's in the world.
Look, it's been brilliant talking to you. Thank you so much for coming on. You're doing so well, and having your mental health issue, which is bipolar, and being like a jobbing musician, because when you're a musician, you've got to do the next album. So you're working for yourself. So it's a lot more stress than if you were just working in an office, or I guess working as a nurse, a job that you turned up to every day and you knew you had your job. You've still got to be creative all the time. So, well done. Yeah. You're doing really well.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Daniel. And thanks so much for having me on, because, I've listened to your podcast. I think it's great. You have a lot of listeners, and I'm just delighted to be part of the podcast and the show. So thank you.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much. It was really good. I'll speak to you hopefully again down the track, and maybe have you on to do some singing.
Yeah, why not? Yeah, you can dance in the background.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Daniel. Take care. Bye.
Well, that was another episode of Life Changes You. If you want to contact us, we're available on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. And we also have a website, lifechangesyou.com.au. So until next time, take care of each other, and thanks for listening.